Good morning, everyone. My name is Salwa, and I am a technologist, but I'm also a futurist. I will probably talk about, this title says I'm going to talk about AI in the business. I'm actually going to talk about AI and humanity. I might raise some key controversial questions and ideas and probably trigger your thinking and collaborate together on that. And it's really wonderful to be here today and to have the opportunity to focus on a key pillar of our digital future, the digital future. For me, digital future is about inclusivity. It's about bringing everybody together. I spent my last 20 years traveling across the globe, Europe, Middle East, Africa. And it is so important that any technology we bring to the world integrates all these communities and all these people. In one of my conversations with Bill Gates, he has been asked, what keeps you awake at night? And he said that the digital divide becomes even bigger, and that the wealthy countries move on, leaving behind the rest of the world. So today, I'm really going to talk about how do we, maybe my thinking around how we can make sure that our digital future is completely inclusive. It's also, we wanted a hopeful future, a future that we're building for our kids. So do we really ask ourselves, what do our kids dream about? How do they see the future? How's the media telling them the future is going to look like? And what's really on their mind? So I'm going to share a video of Luna, who's 5 years old, and I want you to really see the future she dreams of.
It should start like... Purple. Yeah, I want purple.
So recently, I was working on this project for almost a month every night after my 5-year-old goes to sleep. I felt like I was finding a voice. And when I showed it to Luna, she said,
When I saw your movie, I want to see more of your movie.
Then she said,
I want to learn how to make a movie.
and that really touched me. So first we started with the basics, and then we started thinking about what should our movie be about?
A movie about love, art. Maybe we can make a movie about the future.
Like what happens in the future?
Yeah,
Like what it looks like?
yeah.
Do you know what it looks like?
Well, it's clear if you have sand. It's not clear if you don't have sand.
I wasn't really sure what she meant,
Yes.
but that's kind of part of the process here, to follow her lead, to not know where this is going. I've actually been thinking a lot about the future, not just the future that she's gonna live in, but the future that we are collectively imagining together. Later on, we started looking for images of the future, and I typed in future on the stock footage website I'm using, and this is what came up. What is this? How is this the future? Do we want this future?
Robots doing like computer stuff, but that's more like where the robots will live.
Right, but we're talking about where we want to live in the future. When you're big, you don't want to be in here, right?
No, it would be more better to not live in a computer world. That's what I call it.
I showed Luna some of the other images that came up with future, like this one and this one. There wasn't really one that she wanted to live in.
Blah 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 blah. Bye.
Why, as storytellers, are we creating only these types of futures? So maybe there's a new category we can all start imagining together, like future community or future living or protopias. That's a term coined by futurist Kevin Kelly about 10 years ago that has been expanded by Monica Bilskete and many others. So what if we imagine a more hopeful future? What does it look like if it all works out? I asked Monica to share with us some of the protopian futures she's been collaborating on with artists around the world. And we actually got super inspired to make our own painting about the future.
Well, like we're seeing what's gonna happen if it grows or not. Put it all together in pieces and then crack it. That way it will be like healthy and good. You could plant seeds and then crops will grow. That will make it pretty.
So what should the next one be about?
Our next movie should be about.
Okay, so that was the future that our kids dream about. How do we really make sure that that future exists? I'm going to talk about the fourth industrial revolution. As we look towards the fourth industrial revolution, it represents a fundamental change in the way we live, work, and relate to each other. It signifies a new chapter in the evolution of humankind, enabled by extraordinary technologies, advancement compared with those of the first, second, and third industrial revolution. But as someone who travels the world, especially in Middle East and Africa, the revolution with its massive change and speed compels one to think about, how countries will continue to develop, how companies will create value, and how it means to to us, in these changing times. And that is where I believe we need to think that the fourth industrial revolution is more than a simple technology. It is more than a simple algorithms. It's also an opportunity for world leaders to think about their nations, their countries, and how they will use this technology to build a better future for their people. And to build a more inclusive world. AI, which is the subject of my discussion today, is a key pillar of that revolution. Artificial intelligence is forming and driving forces of the future. The world in which we inhabit, the cities in which we live, and the roles in which we work in are becoming smart, powered by the constant progress of advancing sophistication in our technology. As you can see here, the economic price is significant too. Let's just look at AI. It has the potential to make organizations 40% more efficient. And according to PwC, it has the potential to contribute about 16 trillion to the global economy by 2030. As technologists here, we know the value in applying this technology and the significant business and economic gains that can be delivered. For the general public, they will not fully realize that services that they interact with on a daily basis are most likely to have some AI in it, or machine learning built around them. Their perception of the technology is shaped around what they see in the media. When we type future in Google, the images that we see are those robotics. But when it comes to AI, during all my travels with country leaders and people in general, they always ask the same questions. Will robotics take over our jobs? Will robotics run the world? This is the perception that is really shaped by the media, as you have seen it in the video. But for me, AI is much, much more than that. And in the Middle East and Africa, I have spent the last 5 years shaping AI country plans with Microsoft, where I spent 16 years of my life. And during those AI country plans, leaders are asking, how do I really start planning for the futures, for the jobs of the future? How do I really make sure that I'm using this to improve the social and the economic? What policies should I start building for? What does the future of work look like? And that is where, as technologies, we need to participate. As thought leaders in this, we need to start really bringing those more than what algorithm, what data, because that's something we can do. But anticipating the change, helping countries speed up their change and their transformation is what is much, much harder. However, AI brings also this huge opportunity, but a gap as well, if it's unethical or it's unsafe AI systems. And there are cases. There are cases where you do not want to enable some instances with AI capabilities because you know that they could harm people, the privacy, the future. AI needs to deliver the inclusivity that can touch the lives of so many, transforming their future. This includes building it in a way that makes it more inclusive, and by ensuring that it's a tool not just in the hands of the few inside the walls of Silicon Valley, but it's also equitably distributed to developing nations and economies to help them rise. The largest beneficiary of innovation tend to be the providers of intellectual and physical capital in the innovators, the shareholders and investors, which explains the rising gap in wealth between those dependent on capital versus labor. We have to ensure innovation and the economy that underpins it can thrive and flourish and deliver greater gains for the majority of our countries and their people. We need to use AI to make a positive impact in the world. We open our phones with AI-powered facial recognition. Our social media is filled with personalized feeds. Our email inbox is sorted out from spams automatically. Our homes are becoming more and more smart. The navigation and the GPSs are allowing us to remotely and to the urban to be so much easier for us. AI technology have the potential to successfully address also social economic challenges in developing countries. The delivery of basic services, just healthcare, education, and finance is often inefficient in the emerging economies, such those in Africa, for example. Artificial intelligence may be the solution to some of these problems. AI is an incredible way to save, and I don't say technology, it's an incredible word to save the humanity's biggest problems. And I talk a lot about Africa because it's so dear to I'm Tunisian and I'm African, but it's because I spent a lot of time in Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa. Emerging economies often are the ones that are going to shape the future. Africa is predicted to become the largest largest employer in the world by 2050. The largest. So how can AI be deployed in Africa? How do we prepare this largest young people coming out of schools for the new world? How do we make Africa part of the innovation? Because they are becoming the largest employer. And this is, I think, the work of organizations, countries, and international bodies. They should increase their focus on developing AI systems suited to drive systemic transformation in emerging technologies. I will finish with this. We really need to reframe our perspective to achieve our true digital future, where more inclusive countries will make for a more inclusive world. And we cannot imagine the future like Luna did if we don't know it. We need to know these communities. We need to know what the world is dreaming of, because that's how we want to build AI and to want to build a future that maps to the dreams. And the dreams are not one size fits all. All the dreams of the future, we see them from the eyes of the Western white men, like Star Trek movies. We need to see them from other perspectives, from Asian, Africans, Western Europe, South America, all the communities. And also one big thing, AI needs to include as well the different species, all the species in the world, and also include the environment and how we make that painting of Luna be true with AI. It should not look like robotics in data centers. It really should look like different, images that we see when we travel. That is the future we want to see. So this is not AI in business. This is AI in humanity. Let's make it inclusive. Let's make it map to the dreams of every single person in this world. And let's not leave anybody behind. And let's work all together collectively as technologists, as international bodies, as countries, to make sure that AI is enabling all the world, not just a few countries. Thank you very much.